The Tampa Bay Rays have a massive issue with their stadium, and it's no secret. Even casual baseball fans can see why. Simply put, Tropicana Field is an ugly, outdated ballpark, and it's one of the reasons why the Rays perform so poorly in attendance numbers year after year. But the stadium itself isn't the main reason why it's nearly impossible for the Rays to bring in a sellout crowd. No, it's not due to the fact that the Trop has a dome or because the Rays have never won a World Series. Those factors don't excuse the horrible fan turnout every game. It's because of St. Petersburg, and arguably Tampa Bay as a region. The Rays as a franchise were doomed from the beginning in 1998, and today, their future hedges on a giant gamble on downtown St. Pete. No matter how well the team performs or whatever the design for their next stadium may be, the location of Tropicana Field will continue to hold the franchise back, and possibly one day, push them out of Tampa Bay. Let's dive into that. And while you're here, give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. First things first though, let's set the stage as to how the Rays got into this everlasting mess. Believe it or not, construction for Tropicana Field began over a decade prior to the Rays' first season. In fact, one of the key reasons why St. Petersburg decided to build the arena was all because of envy towards Tampa, the region's biggest city. Tampa had been home to the Buccaneers ever since the 1970s, so St. Petersburg, also wanting in on the sports scene, built what was first known as the Florida Suncoast Dome, with the hope that it could attract an MLB team. From the get-go, its construction was controversial after it displaced residents in the gas plant district, a primarily African-American community that played a significant role in building the railway that connected St. Petersburg to the rest of Florida. A once historically significant neighborhood quickly became gentrified through sport. After its opening in 1990, the stadium was used periodically for tennis, concerts, arena football, and hockey, but not for baseball, which was the sole objective of St. Pete's shiny new dome. The region missed out on the 1993 expansion to Denver and Miami, and nearly lured Seattle and San Francisco to the East Coast. Finally, in the mid-90s, Tampa Bay got their ball club, and by 1998, the team's first ever pitch was thrown in front of an energetic, baseball-thirsty crowd at the newly named Tropicana Field.
And the first pitch in Double Ray history. That will go directly to the Hall of Fame.
That excitement didn't last long though. Initially known as the Devil Rays, the team followed up their first season with an improved record, but with an average attendance significantly lower than the prior campaign, all while losing a ton of money. Something wasn't right. For all the anticipation of an MLB team in Tampa Bay, where are all the fans? This worrying trend would continue to this very day, with the team, now known as the Rays, consistently finishing the regular season in the bottom 5 of the league in attendance. And the 2 years they made it out of the bottom 5, they couldn't even wiggle themselves into the top half of the league. So what gives? We can place the blame on Tampa Bay's geography and urban planning. Well, some of it. The Tampa Bay area is sparse. It consists of 3 major cities, St. Petersburg, Clearwater, and Tampa. You might as well include Bradenton, Sarasota, and Lakeland while you're at it. This entire region houses over 3 million residents, and they're all seen as marketable to the Rays organization. There's a giant elephant in the room though, and by elephant, I mean body of water, Tampa Bay itself. Tampa Bay is great for beaches, fishing, and taking your boat out for the Gasparilla Festival. It's the core reason why this region has such a significant population while not being excessively centralized, like New York City, San Fran, or Boston. Navigating through this sprawl is time-consuming though, and when everyone's driving towards the same location, all while bottlenecking on one of the few bridges in between the cities, it takes even longer to get around. St. Petersburg, where Tropicana Field is located, isn't even the hub of the area. That title belongs to Tampa. It's also on its own little peninsula, so unless you're from Pinellas County, you're taking a bridge to get to a Rays game. Now combine that with a non-existent transit hub in and around the region, you're left with a lot of cars from more populated areas funneling into a less developed neighborhood by means of just a few bridges. You might be asking, what's a little bit of driving for a baseball game? It doesn't seem too desirable if you're driving through Tampa at 5:30 p.m. on a weeknight. The Rays' attendance numbers show that. And if you're from Lakeland or even Orlando, good luck. Over 600,000 people can currently reach Tropicana Field in 30 minutes, but if it were located across the bay in Tampa, that number increases to over 1 million residents. That's a 66% increase that just can't be ignored. St. Petersburg is simply too much of an inconvenience when there's a solution sitting right across the bay. However, it can't all be about the lay of the land. We talked about outside the stadium, now let's talk about the stadium itself, Tropicana Field. Year after year, the Trop is consistently ranked the worst stadium in baseball. Location is one thing, but what's the one feature that differentiates it from other ballparks? The roof. Other teams like the Jays, Astros, even the Marlins have roofs of their own, but they're retractable. Tropicana Field, on the other hand, is completely closed off without open air or sunlight peeking through. That intimate baseball experience just doesn't hit the same without fresh air or the night sky. Look at what happened to the Minnesota Twins. When the team moved from the closed-off Metrodome to the open-aired Target Field, the Twins saw a 35% increase in attendance. That's nearly 11,000 more fans per game, a needed yet temporary boost, all thanks to the new ballpark. Fans go to games for not only baseball but for the experience beyond the event, and Tropicana Field, with its low-hanging roof, just doesn't cut it. And let's not forget, the bullpens are located in foul territory, making it an obstacle to field foul balls. The players don't like that. The only other stadium to have this outdated design is Oakland's Coliseum, and that's another ballpark that shouldn't have much to brag about. I explain why in my other video, so be sure to check it out. So what are the owners and politicians doing to solve this glaring problem for the Rays? Since the beginning of the 2023 season, the Rays have implemented checkout-free concessions, some unique stadium eats, and a new video board. It's been received fairly well by the fan base, but it wasn't enough to move the needle, especially with how well the team has been performing in recent seasons. More importantly, what about addressing the issue with its location? For a while now, Rays owner Stuart Sternberg has looked into moving the team to almost anywhere imaginable, whether it's St. Petersburg's waterfront, Ybor City in the heart of Tampa, or even Montreal. Any attempt for an improved location fell through due to either financing issues or small-town politics. In reality, it's St. Petersburg that's dragging their feet on any potential move, since the city is keen on holding on to the Rays and adamant the team serve their lease with the Trop until 2027. In fact, not long ago, an 18-month case study was performed by community leaders from Pinellas County and Tampa to assess suitable locations and costs for a new stadium, which was then presented to politicians in St. Petersburg. The task force concluded that the Trop was poorly designed, not generating enough revenue, and needs to be closer to the region's key demographic and business centers. In response, St. Pete's politicians said they didn't want to hear it and proceeded to cut ties with the coalition. Public officials are sticking their heads in the sand and keeping the Rays hostage for as long as they can. But as it turns out, the Rays may be fine with settling in their current neighborhood. The MLB isn't eager to move the team anytime soon, unlike how they treated the Athletics. And in terms of financing, the Rays would have to pay up more of their own money to cover the cost of a new stadium elsewhere than if they just stayed on the outskirts of downtown St. Petersburg, which is going through its own revitalization project. Through the eyes of the Rays organization, staying put is looking like another gamble, but it's an affordable one. It does beg the question though. No matter where in Tampa Bay the Rays end up, no matter how many times they win the AL East, and no matter how alluring a new stadium may be, will these problems all of a sudden just go away? Maybe, just maybe, Tampa Bay and a rundown ballpark isn't the root of the issue. Maybe it's Florida. Let's unpack this. When you look at the Marlins down in Miami with their 2 World Series titles and state-of-the-art ballpark in a centralized location, their attendance numbers are just as abysmal as the Rays. To be fair, the Marlins haven't put together a strong team since their World Series win in 2003, but even then they ranked 28th in attendance during the regular season. The Marlins are also one of 2 teams in MLB history to have never won their division. This puts a little perspective on the organization's inability to attract fans through team building. Yet the team introduced Marlins fans to a brand new ballpark after leaving Sun Life Stadium in 2012 for what's now known as Lone Depot Park. And while there was a sudden uptick of interest during the stadium's first year following construction, the team's attendance numbers plummeted back to where they were just before the move. Over the course of the next decade, the Marlins and Rays would sit comfortably in the bottom 5 of the league in average attendance, and unsurprisingly, both organizations are currently ranked near the bottom of the league in terms of value, according to Forbes in 2023. So what's going on in Florida? First of all, the heat and humidity is unbearable in the summer, which is when the majority of baseball season is played. But that excuse doesn't carry much weight when both teams play underneath a roof, along with the fact that other clubs in the Sunbelt states aren't suffering from the lack of fans. Florida, however, is far more transient than these other states. People come far and wide from up north to chase that beach-based lifestyle, but while maintaining their allegiances to the teams they grew up supporting. A Yankees fan won't bother switching ball caps for the Rays or Marlins. There's just not enough pull from these organizations. This lack of loyalty from the non-locals is demonstrated when you notice how impressive some spring training complexes are. The Yankees' Steinbrenner Field, Toronto's TD Ballpark, even the Orioles' Ed Smith Stadium are all meant to target the snowbirds who stay in Florida for the winter or those who moved indefinitely. These teams planted their stake in their own corner of Florida for a month of baseball, while the Marlins and Rays struggled to build their own brand. That's not to say Marlins and Rays fans don't exist. They do. They're just not enticed enough to commute to games and would rather tune in on the radio or their local sports network. But as far as Manfred and the MLB are concerned, if there aren't bums in seats and the team isn't making enough money, they'll ditch an area for something new. Sorry, A's fans. Luckily for Rays faithful, the league wants a team in Tampa Bay, so the organization should be staying by the Bay for the foreseeable future on the basis that Sternberg doesn't flirt with leaving and that there's a suitable replacement lined up for Tropicana Field. Numerous stadium mock-ups have been made since 2007, and they all look like a major step up from the Trop. But will it be pushed over the line? We'll have to wait and see, and the Rays have until 2027 to follow through. Until then, the team will continue to find new ways to attract their fan base. It might require investing in St. Pete or blocking off bleachers to create an intimate experience for fans, but with the region's inconvenient urban planning, that potential to attract will inevitably hit a ceiling. No pun intended. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. Be sure to like this video and don't forget to subscribe.